Hey guys, what's up? It is Nocturnal Gaming here. Today I was going to do a overview of my sim rig that I built about 9 months ago. I'd been interested in sim racing for over 5 years. I'd been looking at different setups and ads and looking at them in store at Micro Center mainly, but just been checking them out for quite some time. But I had a strong interest in doing it, something I'd wanted to get into for a while. I have racing experience with motorcycles and track days in cars and whatnot, so it's not a foreign concept to me. I really enjoy racing a lot. I did circuit racing with CCS and WERA for several years on motorcycles, and did just fun days on the track with the car and whatnot. And so I've had that itch for quite some time. Sim racing is a fantastic outlet if you do enjoy racing and driving fast. The realism has gotten really good. It's so good, in fact, that Red Bull did a documentary several years ago called Game to Glory, where they took a champion sim racer and brought him to their facility and let him drive all their cars, the GT3, the Formula 4, 3, 2, and the Formula 1 car. Ultimately, he had to do some physical training for that, but it was fantastic seeing how well his abilities sim racing transferred over to the real world. So I think it might be an outlet where people can get into racing without going through the normal channels of kart racing and things like that. They could become a really good sim racer and find their way into racing real cars if they're really good at it. The realism is so good that you have professional race drivers, namely, notably, I should say, Max Verstappen. He's a very avid sim racer. Very good at it, one of the best in the world. He's one of the best drivers in the world, and obviously one of the best sim racers in the world as well. So, if it should convey the idea that sim racing is very, realistic as far as learning the tracks, and car control and things like that. So, can't say enough good things about it. It's been a fantastic hobby, something I've really enjoyed. The sky's the limit. I've been using iRacing, but there are multiple sims out there. A set of course is another one that has a lot of modifications that you can install and play with. I like iRacing because it's a very competitive version of sim racing. They have, Formula 1 and circle tracks and dirt tracks, and they have they just run the gamut of all the options that they have in sim racing. And like I said, it's, as far as realism goes, it's one of the best out there. So, so yeah, here we go. This is mostly a sim lab setup, the sim rig itself. I ended up going with a triple monitor setup. I did research quite a bit. There's, people do single wide angle monitors, or big wide curved ones. I went with the triples because the field of view actually is better with the triples. I'm sure some people would debate that, but just doing the math on it, you do get a better field of view with this. It did take a bit to set up, but there are a lot of resources out there, a lot of people willing to help you with it, so it's kind of cool. The sim rig itself, when I bought basically a van load of parts and started putting everything together, and it took several weeks. It took a lot longer than I anticipated. There's a lot of tweaking. Every little thing when you get in there and start getting the ergonomics set up correctly. So it did take quite a bit of time. I'm still doing some tweaks on it all the time, like, changing a couple things, and I'm like moving my pedals, because you have to set them and then drive for a little while. So it takes some time, but it is a very rewarding sport. I really do enjoy it. I really can't say enough about it. And of course, it's a lot cheaper than driving a car at a track day and buying tires and gas and everything you need for the car. So there's no speeding tickets here. You can drive as fast as you as your abilities will let you, and you won't wad your car if you crash. So there are a lot of benefits to it. I love it. You don't get the G-forces, but the feeling of driving is completely there. It's it's fantastic. So if you're a car guy like I am and you like driving fast, you really should check into sim racing, because it really does scratch that itch for you if you're one that likes to get out and do some spirited driving. So, so yeah, you can see here, I did freestanding monitors. I ended up going with a quad monitor stand because I needed another monitor up top for the OBS and things for when I'm streaming, status boards, lap timers, and all that stuff. And then you got the 3 screens for your racing, you get your full view. I threw an iPad up here just to do some of the dashboard displays, so you can see them a little bit better, on the camera that I have set up here. Behind the headrest, it's like a field of view camera here, so you can kind of see what I see when I'm racing. I did share the screen for a while, but it wasn't nearly as immersive as the camera here, so this really was a good setup. You can see I went with the Hesuinkveld e-brake and then the sequential shifter. Of course, I have the Cube Controls CSX3 wheel, and it's got 6 paddles on it, so you can configure your shifter on the paddles, which is what I use primarily, but I did get the sequential and the e-brake for potentially doing drifting later with the Assetto Corsa, so just wanted to have it as an option. So, but I do primarily use the paddles. I'm mostly running GT3 cars. I did try out a bunch of different things, but I really like the GT3 stuff. So got a couple of stream decks here for doing like fan control and audio and different scenes in OBS, so I don't have to because I don't want to use the mouse when I'm driving a car. You really don't want to take your hands off the wheel very much. Can get kind of hairy pretty fast there. So got a WRX limited seat here to Alcantara. It is a power seat. I did throw a 12-volt power supply underneath the seat, so you can actually move it like a real car seat. It's got the lumbar, so you can see it. Very cool setup. Wasn't too hard to get installed there. Got the Z906 speaker set up, so you can see kind of where I mounted those. We got one up top here and whatnot, so got creative with the different mounts and whatnot. I 3D printed a lot of parts. So I got my cup holder, the mouse pad, my keyboard stand. I did a little mouse tray here so I could stow the mouse when I'm racing, because there was so much vibration when I was driving the car that the mouse would start moving across the screen. It's really irritated me. So I did put the mouse caddy there for that. I printed the different mounts so I've got a holder here for my speaker control for the Z906. Got a storage box here. I 3D printed this for my mic and gloves and things like that. And 3D printed mounts for all the power supplies and whatnot. So it just makes everything very neat. So that's kind of another hobby that spawned from sim racing was 3D printing. So I went with the Simucube 2 Pro direct drive wheel. Very strong direct drive. I don't run it at full capacity. There's really no need for that, but it does like 20 nanometers or something. It's Newton meters. Very, very solid, very good feedback with it. Can't say enough good things about it. On the audio side, I've got the Rodecaster Pro 2, and this is one of the reasons why it's taken me so long to do this video is I had some issues with my previous unit. They did eventually send me a new one, so I got that yesterday and got everything set up again. So I was moving it back and forth from my main machine over here, and I got tired of doing that. So I did get a second one there so I didn't have to disconnect and mess anything up. It's not a piece of gear that I want to be moving around a whole lot. So the sim rig itself had a PC tray here, so very, very sturdy. I mean, this thing is, crazy, crazy sturdy with that. 5080 on the graphics card, 64 gig of RAM, running Windows 10 still. Nothing, I just bought an out-of-the-box PC for that. Works extremely well, covers the stream requirements, and iRacing flawlessly. I've had no issues with it whatsoever. Plenty of horsepower there, wasn't terribly expensive. So good setup on that. Ended up going with a really long power strip that I mounted here, and then I went with, just really short, you can see the power cord for this one is just as long as it needs to be. So I had a bunch of cords and things like that I just wanted it very clean. You see I wrapped all the cabling and whatnot to try to make the setup as clean as it possible. There are limits to it, but overall I'm extremely happy with how the setup turned out. I did bury a camera in here, so this is so you can see me when I'm racing, but I mostly use the the point of view camera that I have level with my head there. So, but yeah, oh yeah, fan kit. This is a must-have So if you're gonna sim race, like it is quite the workout, surprisingly. So you'll get hot in there. So it's good to have a fan kit. This one, I have controls on it on the Stream Deck, but the faster you drive, the more the wind blows. It's kind of cool. So I highly recommend that if you want to stream, if you want to sim race. And then you can see my Z906 sub here. It's a little dark down there. I have a battery backup. Highly recommend that too. Just, you don't want to drop out of a race because the power blip for half a second. So, and then they have these boxes down here, and I put all my power cords and things like that are all in there. So it keeps it real clean. They're all, so all my cables are like wrapped up and in that box, but you don't see them out hanging out anywhere else. You have just enough cord to get to where it needs to go, so it keeps everything nice and tidy. So yeah, there you go. Still got some ergonomic work that I want to do with the setup, but overall it's 95% there. I was been looking at the feedback for the pedals. So people say that the vibration on the brake pedal does fantastic feedback. So that's the one thing I'm interested in. I did get a butt kicker. You see the module for that there, which is basically it's got a vibration speaker under the seat. So when the car rumbles or when you run over a rumble strip or things like that, you get the feedback from that vibration. It's really cool. It's a really cool setup. There's some people that go really crazy with the Immersion. They have motion rigs and things like that. I didn't go motion. All the research that I saw on it said that it's incredibly expensive for one, and it kind of lags in the response, and so it just basically people said you're better off going without it unless you want to spend an asinine amount of money, which I didn't want to do. I mean, this wasn't a cheap hobby as it is already, but I didn't want to get into way over $10,000 in a setup. So, but yeah, I'll do some streaming and whatnot of racing. Since I've been moving the Rodecaster back and forth so much, I haven't used it a whole lot. I haven't streamed a whole lot with it because it was a lot of work to like dial all the settings back in because I was using it for casting for Modern Warships, and so it got to be too much work to move it back and forth. So, but now that I have that, I can do some streaming again with it and not have to tinker with it so much just to get a race in. So, if you're interested in sim racing, if you're local and you would like to check it out, hit me up. If you need some advice on things that I learned and whatnot in the process, I'm happy to help you out with that. Highly recommend it. If you're a car guy, you're gonna love it. So yeah, that's all I got. Again, Nocturnal Gaming, I really appreciate all you guys' support. This is one of my little hobbies that I do outside of Modern Warships, and just wanted to kind of give a quick overview because I hadn't really demoed the setup. I've talked about it a few times, but kind of hard to understand what it is without seeing it because there's a lot going on here. So anyway, thanks again, guys. I really appreciate it. Cheers.